Hello, Resilience family. Welcome to another episode, guys. I hope you had a wonderful week, a wonderful weekend, and the beginning of this week is outstanding because my weekend, guys, has been amazing. I tell you guys, it's been amazing. God has really blown my mind this weekend, guys. But we have a wonderful, wonderful, good soul. He dropped into my emails. And I was like, oh my God, I am just so gracious to have met him. And here we are because I want him to tell the world about who he is. So, Mark, how are you today? And please tell us a little bit about who you are.
Well, hi Dawn. It's great to see you. I'm doing pretty well today. Things are going they're going well, and I'm enjoying myself. I'm happy to be here. My name is Mark Connor. I'm from St. Paul, Minnesota. I am a literary pugilist, which is to say, my whole life the only two things I've been good at are boxing and writing. So from the age of
Mm.
10, I was a competitive boxer. Up to my mid 20s, I continued training with professionals. After that, not actually fighting professionally, and a couple of my teammates, three of my teammates actually, or two of my teammates actually became world champions. Three of them fought 11 world champions between them. So I kind of grew up in boxing uh,
Mm-hmm.
around a kind of a group of people that were kind of elite. So I learned a lot about it, and I made a transition to being a boxing trainer, and I run a training
Wow.
service. So I do personal training service with people who are basically recreational boxers that want to be in shape and no self defense, and I do a little bit of coaching of competitive amateurs and professionals. So
Wow.
I'm a boxing trainer now, not a fighter anymore. And
Wow. That
right.
go
And
ahead.
I'm also an author, right, too. So I've got
Yeah, I was about to say, where did that go? Yes. But that is amazing. That's amazing. Man, so before we get to your book though, talk a little bit of that boxing world. Like, how'd you find yourself in that life?
I was just very attracted to it when I was 10, particularly when I was 9, 10 years old. When I was 10, going to fifth grade, I had been begging all summer my my parents to let me learn how to box. So this kind of this ages me a little bit or dates me, but it was shortly after the Rocky saga had started, and
Hmm.
my family hadn't originally seen the first one we saw, Rocky 2, which I think inspired me because he actually won the world title in that one. I don't know how I would have felt if I saw him lose in the first one, but I'd also my brother was 13 days less than 1 year older than I am. We're just two kids. Um,
Hmm.
he always cared about sports from when we were little kids, so we always played the regular sports that kids play on the playground.
Yeah.
Start, Starting with t-ball, going to baseball, then hockey and everything like that, and then because we're in Minnesota, everyone plays hockey. But then I'd started football fifth grade. I'd only played one game, and I had the chance
Yeah.
to box. And I just when I had the chance to box, I just as soon as I knew I could do that, I quit football and everything else except baseball in the summers, and I just started boxing. It was one of those things where how kids get out of school and they play, they ride their bike, they hang out with friends, whatever they want to do to play. My way of playing was I was at the gym training every day because in my mind I was imagining myself being one of the professional boxers I see on TV. So that was how I got
Okay.
into.
Okay.
Yeah, so it just became one of those things that was just a positive activity for me. And my mom didn't want me
Nice.
to box. I kept begging my dad to take me to the gym. He finally took me to a gym. Yeah.
Wow. Well, okay. Well, good. So let's fast forward. When did you start writing? When did you find a
So,
love for that?
so well, I actually had an interest in that as a young kid also. Now, I wasn't much into reading. Really, what I wanted to be when I was 7, 8 years old, I wanted to be an actor or something like that. You know, I always wanted to be something special where everyone paid attention to me, or maybe I wanted to be a rock and roll star or something like that. But my brother, who was a pretty good musician, he played the drums, he played the piano, he played the guitar. I tried. I tried the guitar, and I played the saxophone for a couple of years, but I could, the saxophone interfered with boxing once I started it, and I just wasn't disciplined at that. This is what I was disciplined at. But but I wanted to kind of be involved with kind of acting and stuff like that. I thought of that when I was as young as maybe 8 years old. But then when I was 16 is the first time that I really thought I might have a chance to be a serious writer. I wrote something about the boxing gym for a descriptive. It was an assignment in class to write something descriptive. I remember showing it to my dad. My dad was just so impressed with it, and he always said to me, "You always were a good writer. I always knew you were good." And I said, "Well, when did you ever tell me that?" And the funny thing is about how boxing and about my parents, how they influenced me to not just to be a good boxer, but to be a good student, become a writer. Is I always had problems academically, and when I was 10 years old and I started boxing. My parents bought me a subscription that Christmas to the Ring magazine, which is the most prominent boxing magazine, monthly magazine in the world. And I'd look at the pictures, right? Because the guys had muscles and they looked cool and stuff like that, and it was an action thing, and that would draw me into it. And then they had captions on beneath the pictures, so I'd read the captions, and that would be the thing I would look at. Then they had the rankings listed from the heavyweight champion down through the.
Okay, so all of the descriptions caught your eye.
Right. So as I started reading and memorizing all the names of the fighters and everything, and learning the different pronunciations, from different countries and stuff like that, then eventually, while I'm looking at the magazine, I might as well read an article. So I started to read a lot, and so the one thing that I excelled in, one subject which I really excelled in school, was English. And then I found out I could write when I was 16. I thought maybe I could actually go to college. Maybe I could actually, I still want to be a world champion boxer, but maybe I could be a writer too, So that's how it really happened. And then, I've after getting out of college, I wanted to keep boxing. I never felt that when I'd gone to college, I'd gone to 3 national tournaments. I tried out for the Pan American Games. It didn't win, and I took a little bit of time off in college. But the last couple of years of college, I still boxed, and I felt like I wasn't giving enough time to it. So I did a couple more years after, and I had some injuries and stuff, and I was always one fight away from getting back to the national level. So I thought, well, maybe it's not going to work to turn professional, and that's when I decided to become a writer. And
right.
There were some other distractions in life,
Yeah, so you stuck with that writing piece. It just stuck to you, which I believe is good, because now here you have this book. It's About Time, millions of copies sold for Dad. So it's a deeply reflective book. So what inspires you to write it, and why now?
Well, as I say on the first page, I came up with the title of this book on September 30, 2019, the day my father died. And basically that sentence sums it up. I wrote that sentence the first day. I didn't write the book until a little over a year later, although I wrote the book fast. And I was watching him die. My mom and I prayed over him. We prayed over him as he died. We knew he was going to die. We finally had to let them turn life support off. He was for 10 days on life support, and he had a heart attack. And I'm looking at him thinking, my brother, it's hard for him, but he's married. He's got 2 children. I've never gotten married yet. I don't have any kids, and I haven't accomplished these big goals that I always said I was going to accomplish. And while I've got a lot of stuff published, I've written a lot of articles and stuff like that. I've always been talking about publishing novels and other kinds of books. I've never published a book. I'm looking at him thinking, this is ridiculous. I've settled for too little in my life for too low of standards, and I don't have an excuse for this. And I'm feel so guilty that my dad never saw me publish a book. I'm going to write a book and publish it, no matter what happens with it. You know, whether
Wow.
whether millions of copies do sell for that or not. But I'm talking to
Yeah.
you and trying to be resilient to get to the resilience family audience.
Yes,
Uh,
exactly.
yeah, let's millions of copies do sell for that.
Yes, I think it's amazing you took that leap of faith, because this is
Yeah.
something, that you wanted to accomplish, and here it is. You birthed it. I'm still trying to write a full-length book. I do have a deadline of the end of this year. I have to get it done, though, so we shall see. But
Right.
I admire it. I really admire it that you dove deep and you produced this. This is like your baby, your work of art. It took some discipline. I believe it took a lot of discipline. So, speaking of that discipline part, how have both disciplines shaped your understanding of resilience, meaning the boxing world and your writing journey? How did it get you to here where you are and you produce this?
Well, starting with the boxing, I was getting up in the morning before school and running 3 miles a day when I was 10 years old.
Wow.
And I was, and doing all the exercise and everything. And it's something I did every single day. And then when it comes to writing, and you got to do kind of the same thing, right?
Yeah.
You have to find a time every day that you write. And you're not winning the world championship you're not in a world championship fight winning the world championship every day that you train, and you're not publishing the best-selling novel or the timeless novel every time you're sitting down writing. What you're doing is you're going through the routine that develops your skills, and you have to get into the habit of it. And
that's good.
And you have to believe that you can do it, and that if you're not doing something that's going to, you write a page today and it's not great, and you're going to throw it away. That's okay, because that's what everyone does. There's this writer that I mentioned in a writing book, a book about creative writing, in this book that I read before that influenced me, named Natalie Goldberg, and her book is called Writing Down the Bones. And it's just she says one excuse that people tell her about I'm not writing, as they say, because I write SHIT, right? She said, well, write that. She said, write it. That's not an excuse, because every great writer writes that kind of garbage.
All the time. You gotta start somewhere.
Right. But you never see the terrible stuff that the great writers write, because it's not worth publishing. It doesn't get published. Then they've been writing for years, and then they get to the thing that, okay, they each writer keeps refining what's been written down to the point that now it's ready to go out there. But that was the argument. Yeah, that was the argument my dad had with me, which I cover that at the end of chapter 1. There's I'd actually like to take a little bit of time here. On pages 12 and 13, which close out chapter 1.
Okay.
I have there's this really beautiful woman that I'd had this serious discussion with, and she was going through some stuff in her life that she was basically leaving town, and she was cutting me off too, because she was just saying, like, I've just got to go on. So I wrote this poem to her, and right after that, I give a little explanation about that whole thing about holding on to perfection before letting something go, which actually becomes the enemy of actually what's good, right? So it goes like this. So it's called Life So Simple. As if to pray, you start today in meditation on your bicycle wheel, the separate spokes united in the center. You want me to be blunt, you say. I want to be direct, but fear I'll frighten you away. The final action is the original intention. This statement is authentically true, not just my invention. My responsibility is to you a comfort for my rest, a respect in your behavior, hoping you to be your best. You can push me away, invite me to stay, or walk with me today, but we met for a reason to teach each other and learn. Such a fact comes not from acts, but is a grace we did not earn.
Mm.
Demons distract, demons lie, and demons discourage us from our destiny till we die. Friends encourage, friends assist, and friends persist with love on which we rely. Your
Mm.
guardian angel already talked to mine. Together they've watched us share laughter and argue to the point of crying. You know they're sent by God who really does exist and is not a tyrant or a terrorist. Rather, he is love, family, life, held in common at the core. You and I, specific spokes, united in the center, spinning round from place to place, and nothing more.
Mm.
There were some other poems I put together qualifying for appropriate inclusion in this book. I've always held
Mhm.
myself, of course, to the highest of standards, never believing any of these poems ready for an attempt at publication. So I never tried, which is why I so embarrassingly title the story It's About Time. Dad challenged me once, as far back I believe as 2012, asking me why by the age of 40 I hadn't published at least one book. If I really was a writer, as I asserted myself to be, I should have been able to publish at least 5 novels or other books by then.
Mm.
I told I told him to lay off, that there were legitimate reasons for current incompletion, and that literary success was on its way, but that was all an excuse. The real reason was a lie in my heart that my work is going to be great. I just needed time to concentrate, which is always delayed right now for the job or the friend in trouble or another excuse which justified not trying. The truth is, I was scared, so I never dared. If this book, which can fall flat in its face, is never presented to the public, I'll never know if you, the reader, recognize my talent. If it does, in fact, fall flat in its face, at least metaphorically, I fall flat on mine. However, so what? It's about time.
Wow. And that's is that part of the life so simple, right?
Right. So that's um
Nice.
so where I start, there were some other poems I put together qualifying for
Yeah.
publication. That's directly after the poem "Life's So Simple," and
Nice. Yeah.
when I get to the point I told him to lay off, that there were legitimate reasons for current completion. That's that's the closing of that paragraph, but
Hmm.
I break it into the poem. It's actually
Yeah.
broken into lines in the poem.
Hmm.
So
So
yeah.
much of your work feels like an invitation to pause and reflect. What
Yeah.
role does stillness play in your personal life, when your personal resilience?
Well, this- being able to gather myself in a moment of stillness allows me to reflect on what has just happened, what is now happening, and what I need to do in order to continue on. To continue on in a manner that's safe and beneficial for myself,
Yeah.
so I can be successful in staying alive and trying to make just do something good in life. And
Pushing. Well, amen. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. So, if you could leave our listeners with one takeaway about resilience and living intentionally, what would it be?
never give up the virtue of hope. Always hold
Mm,
on to hope.
that's
Um,
good.
you know, life is a gift, and it's always worth living, no matter what, no matter how
Yeah.
hard it gets. Now
Yes.
I can expand on that, but that's
That
ultimately,
is good. That is so good.
yeah. Ultimately, this book it's written about. I mean, so I've talked about my relationship with me and my dad. Talk about the
Mm-hmm.
Catholic faith. I talk about the time I spent working in the Native American Indian community, and I was introduced by these Native friends of mine to the Lakota traditions of the Sundance, and so I kind of compare that to my Christian background and everything. And then at the end, I'm talking about the riots because that happened, shortly after my dad died. So we had to shut down everything, and
Yeah.
everyone we're still stabilizing ourselves in this
Right.
country from everything that happened, and people still are on edge right now, and
Right.
so it's
So you basically was reflecting doing the whole book, all this that was happening in the world. Um, it was giving you some time to
yeah,
think about everything. And
uh,
yeah,
100%, yeah,
so that's
yeah.
good.
I mean,
That's good. That's good. So tell everybody how they could get the book. Where can they get the book
okay,
at?
okay, it's about time. Millions of copies sold for dead. If you go to boxersandwritersmagazine.com, that's it's on the screen there. That's my website. You click onto that. It's on the books page. If you just put a /books after it, you'll get to it. But you'll find it on that website right away. And you're going to get it through either Amazon, or if you don't want to pay money to Jeff Bezos, you get it from Lulu. Those are the two venues that it's on right now. I had it in a local store called Irish on Grand, but they just retired and went out of business. I'm
Oh,
working on
wow.
getting more stores, but right now it's on Amazon.
Awesome.
You go to boxerswritersmagazine.com and you'll get it for sure.
That would be amazing. Everybody shop on Amazon, so that's good. But you said Lulu. What's Lulu's? I think I've heard of that site.
It's spelled LULU. It's just another it's just another book distribution site, publishing site.
Oh, okay.
It's gonna be the same
Awesome.
price on either one, and you'll get a nice paperback from either one of them. And Amazon is the one that you can get a Kindle if you want to get a Kindle.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Okay, that's
Right.
awesome.
Right.
That is awesome. So, any last words? Any last words for us?
Well, I'll just say that the book also, it's kind of a love song to St. Paul with a nod to Minneapolis, and it's written for America, right? And it's meant for the reader, no matter how you feel about the worldview I'm expressing. I think that you're going to find that through my narration of the story that you are respected as a reader, and I'm offering you and encouraging you to walk away from this with encouragement and with hope, to always hold on to hope.
That's good. Oh my God. I love that. Always hold on to hope. That is amazing. So, Mark, as I always tell my guests, I thank you for your time because we don't get our time back. It is very precious. And I am just honored to have you here. And your book, I have to finish the end. I haven't finished the end. I'm confessing. I didn't finish the whole book. I didn't finish the end yet, but I will get to that. It's amazing because it makes me think. It has made me reflect, of life. And like you saying, to give hope, hope. Like we need that. We need that now. We're gonna need that in times to come, you know.
Yeah.
But this was an honor. And I just thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So guys, Mark Connor, y'all, it's about time. Go grab it on Amazon. It's really good. It's really a blessing. It is. Thank you, Mark, so much. Thank you, thank you,
Thank
thank you.
you. God bless you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm very
Yeah.
honored myself.
My resilient family, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Whether you're listening now or listening later, I appreciate you. Please like and subscribe. Please share, guys. And as I always say, stay safe, stay well, and always, always stay resilient, guys. Stay resilient. Until next time, guys, I love you. Stay well.